Greetings, Mech Warriors, and welcome to this MRBC North American Season 7 Week 2 matchup, Division A matchup, I always mess that up, between Steel Jaguar and 228th IBR Blackwatch. Should be a very exciting match. I've been looking forward to seeing this one. Both of these teams are definitely going to be doing their best to make a statement here in Division A. In fact, I would say that all of the teams that are still in Division A right now are doing really well. Like, what do you think, man? You've been watching the standings and the matches and stuff like that, and nobody's going down without a fight here at all, for sure.
I think it's been a lot closer than what we expected. We saw some really kind of, I guess, as shocking results as you might get in Div A. For example, Antares Scorpions nearly knocking off EMP last week was absolutely shocking.
And by knocking off, you mean almost winning the match.
Almost
but still,
winning.
I think the results of that were a little bit shocking.
3-2, but that's shocking to me. I think, Lords and SJR had one heck of a fight going on. They've been some very, very close matches, and I'm curious to see how 228 does, because so far 228 is the only Div A team that has not played yet. But at least
they have played one match.
Did they play one match?
Yeah, I was looking at it. They had two scores posted, I believe, from withdrawals, but I believe they did play.
I thought they didn't have played one match.
Was it Antares Scorpions? But it was a close one yet again.
I guess I just don't know what I'm talking about. So sorry, everybody.
I'm looking at their match results. They actually played House of Lords, and they did lose to House of Lords, but it was a 2-3 match. So it was close. The other two are just the withdrawals of Rising Storm and CSJA. But yeah, we haven't seen what 228 can do against the rest of the field. They've got to play EMP yet. They're playing SJR tonight. They have to play Antares Scorpions. 5 teams in Division A still. That means there's going to be 4 matches to be played for each of them. And so far, with all the 2-3 results we've been seeing all over the place, it's been an exciting season so far, so I can't wait to see what happens. So taking a step back, I, of course, am Bandit B17 from the Marine Mechs. I always like to just jump right in there, but in case anybody is new to this, that is who I am. And, of course, this is MDM00 from the Marine Mechs as well.
I guess. And I also want to point out, I believe you have our names right below us, so...
Well, yeah.
Unless you've changed the overlay, so everyone should know who we are, unless they can't read
by now. But whatever.
By now,
and then
if they haven't learned to read by now, this is who we are.
Absolutely. And then with us again is Mr. IQ Fish from Top Game Media Crew. He will be recording tonight for his new iteration of the video that you saw during the intro. And we're all super excited and can't wait to see what magic he can come up with. I think this has been a very fantastic season, and I think that the new spectator tool and stuff hopefully is giving him some good results. What do you think, IQ?
Yeah, absolutely. The new dolly cam is a great feature too, so that helps.
I have been using that quite a bit. It's really nice when you do those chase cams, not having to worry about the horizontal altitude or anything like that. You can just cruise in behind a mech and try and match speeds. Definitely has been pretty slick. But he will be, of course, joining us for drops 3, 4, and 5, because out of respect for the teams during skirmish, we are not going to be killing MD mercilessly. He will be in the second spectator slot, but in drops 3, 4, and 5, MD will be yet again doing no damage and dying as usual, and then he will be providing his picture-in-picture view from the sidelines.
One of these days, I'm just going to go wild and get all 8 kills and steal them all. 2,000 damage.
He's going to ace the other team.
I'm going to ace the other team. I'm going to ace my own team.
You're going to get 16 kills.
16 kills in one match.
Oh,
you just wait.
A new record. Absolutely, it would be a new record. But so yeah, back to the match. We are of course waiting on our lobby invites. They are getting formed up and ready to go. But we did watch Steel Jaguar against House of Lords. Was that last week? And the results of that, I would say it surprised us, but at the same time didn't. There was certainly a little bit of controversy involved. For anybody who doesn't know what happened in that instance, basically House of Lords has absorbed another unit that had played in MRBC, and then they withdrew. So per the rules, those players are not eligible to join any other roster for the remainder of the season. House of Lords is practicing for the big tournament for PGI, and they made the conscious decision that they are going to run with those players in their MRBC roster in order to practice for that. And that's fine. I would rather have that than like a withdraw. We get to watch some awesome MechWarrior action, and of course they're doing very well with this new roster. But of course, rules are rules, and so that means they're going to have a pretty low-scoring season, even if they're winning their matches. But that's fine. We're still going to watch them because they are still going to be a very powerful team that we will need to pay attention to in future tournaments. So
Yeah.
it's
And at the
been
very
a pleasure
least,
to watch.
it provides a very entertaining match for both us as casters and hopefully you guys as viewers to watch. So nothing wrong with bringing entertaining matches to you guys. That's what we hope to do. So
Absolutely,
it's
and
definitely
everybody
fun to
was being very good sports about it, including Steel Jaguar. They allowed the match to continue despite the rule discrepancies, etc., etc. They just played out, and so essentially it was kind of like just a scrimmage, but they both played hard. I mean, they're both trying to make a point. They're both running complex strategies to try and best each other. So this was like an advanced scrimmage. It was a real fight, really. But I guess the surprising, not surprising, whatever result of that was Steel Jaguar actually fell 2-3 in that match. It was a very close, hard-fought match.
I'm going to say, I'm going to say that's surprising. I really have believed that Steel Jaguar over the last couple of months has come on very strong, basically since the announcement of the PGI tournament, which we can talk about at another point. I felt they've been coming on very strong, playing very well. We saw in the Mercstar Invitational, they gave Imperial, EMP, a very, very good fight in what most people considered to be, EMP being the favorites. It was very close. And then, they played Lords, and I honestly expected them, and not taking anything away from House of Lords, but I expected SJR to be the number 2 team in Div A and to win that match. And instead, we get Lords taking it. And, they're kind of the wild card in all this because they haven't necessarily been playing as a competitive team together in recent seasons and recent tournaments. So
and their roster is still changing too. That's the big thing.
Exactly.
Is that they're in a changing phase in the middle of an MRBC season. So week to week, we don't know what we're going to get, but they've definitely been on the increase with these new players. And whether or not those players are eligible, obviously for MRBC it makes a big difference, but we're here as competitors to watch these teams grow for all leagues that they might touch. And so all eyes, as MRBC draws to a close, are on the big tournament, and we're watching what these guys can do, because they're going to continue that momentum and potentially be contenders to maybe even win the whole thing. Who knows? We could be watching Lords moving up to that stage. But I don't think we should count Steel Jaguar out. So I'm done talking about Lords now, because that was last week. Steel Jaguar is here again this week, and they obviously had some issues. This wasn't them playing at their best, I don't think.
Yeah,
and
I don't think anyone can make that argument that Steel Jaguar necessarily put forth their best match last week. So we'll just have to see. What
Invites
happened
are going
last
out, by the
week?
way. if you got your invite.
Did what happened last week, is that an aberration, or was that a sign that maybe Steel Jaguars, we all know last season they didn't have a good season.
Mm-hmm.
I believe they came on strong in Mercstar Invitational. Who knows? Maybe having Mercstar Invitational and going straight into MRBC has been a little tough on their roster. I don't know that. So this is kind of
it could have been
our
a
next
fluke.
step to figure out.
Maybe it was
a fluke?
eye-opening. Maybe they're going to come back into this one and come at this one hard. And we'll see. Maybe they'll come in and just straight up 5-0, 228. But at the same token, let's not count out 228. Now, they haven't really had the opportunity to show what they've got so far. They did lose to House of Lords 2-3, but it was kind of a previous roster for House of Lords. So it's hard to truly gauge where they are at now. And since it was so long ago that they actually played, or I guess it wasn't terribly long ago, but the amount of time that has passed, has 228 been working on it? I'm sure that these guys have been practicing a lot because they've got their eyes on the prize too. Nobody can count 228 out. They've been a little bit quiet as of late. Nobody's really been talking about them as being a top 3 team. But I think that would be a mistake because you let these guys fester a little bit and you let them grow within, and then they're going to come on strong and prove themselves to be contenders. So we're going to have to watch these guys tonight and see whether or not they have figured out something that's going to work really well against Steel Jaguar, and they could potentially knock Steel Jaguar even lower. And that would be not only a victory for 228, but that would be a big psychological blow to SJR if they don't come away with this one. Losing 2 weeks in a row, that can do quite a bit of damage to your roster's morale going into this big tournament. So even whether or not you care about the standings of MRBC at all or not, this does have real world this matters. This matters to a lot of people. So we're gonna really have to see what these guys do, and I'm really hoping that we're gonna see a good close fight tonight.
Yeah, I mean, I don't. It's kind of interesting. There's 2 teams in Div A who I think do not get nearly enough respect. It's Antari Scorpions, and I think they've started to get a little more respect, and it's 228. And for whatever reason, it feels like 228's been flying really under the radar this season. And I don't know why that is, because it's a very good team. They made it, to the semifinals in Mercstar Invitational, which, looking at that lineup going in there, is right about where you would place them. And here they are in Div A. They've been in Div A before. And everyone's it almost feels like they've been forgotten about. And so this is their real chance. SJR is a well-known team. 228's obviously a well-known team, but like I said, it just feels like they haven't had the same attention this season. So this is one chance, like you said, to not only put SJR down, but really make a statement here and say, hey, we're not, don't forget about us. And as you pointed out, PGI tourney coming up, teams are trying to use MRBC as that kind of slingshot into the PGI tournament. Well, here's 228's chance. See if they can do it.
Absolutely. So, drop 1, we're going to be going into Frozen City Night. 4 lights, 4 mediums, 0 heavies, 0 salts. Throughout the entire match tonight, we'll have max of 1 of any chassis with 1 duplicate allowed. So we'll be paying attention to what choice each team makes for their duplicate mech throughout the night. No strikes and clan streaks are banned for drop 1, so we won't be seeing any of those in use. What do you think we're going to be seeing tonight, especially just like last week, post-patch, post-slight changes? I don't think we saw too much difference since the patch.
No.
Especially in drop 1. Oxides did not get touched nearly hard enough, and we are still seeing quite a few of them in use. A lot of Jenner 2Cs. We're seeing a lot of Hunchback 4SPs, Griffins, of course. But with that said, we are headed in. Let's go take a look. And we, of course, do have picture-in-picture brought to you by Mr. MDM00. All right, I am over on the 228 side, and we are seeing a Shadowhawk 222, which is a popular choice. Stormcrow, Griffin 3M, and Hunchback 2C from Panic Button. Let's see what the build-out is on that. He is running 4 Clan SRM, 6 Artemis, and 2 ER medium lasers. What have you got on your side?
Well, I'm looking at the Magician is the first guy I spectated, and he's running a Trebuchet with 3 large lasers, 2 mediums. They have the dual oxides. That's very typical. Shadowhawk 2D2, a Hunchback, 4 SP, very tanky build. That's a popular thing nowadays in these light drops. Standard Griffin, really the only unusual thing I'm seeing.
T-Fun's actually coming up right up to the front line, dropping his UAV, not taking any shots because he is behind a building, but he is danger close to the main body of 228. They are actually walking right up to him, and we're going to have a little bit of an exchange here. Panic Button and T-Fun exchanging shots, and looks like, I don't know if this is going to turn into an all-out brawl yet, but that was a brutal exchange.
Yeah, they've got
by
a couple
both mechs.
A couple mechs kind of off to the side. It looks like 228's pushing up to the right of SJR into Lower City.
And SJR is making their move. SJR is making their move into main body. They're stabbing right through the middle of them. And we're seeing a lot of SRM fire back and forth. They are opting to go for the Stormcrow's Chrisman down to 59%. They do get the leg on him, but they need to take him out pretty quick.
And he does go down.
And he does go down. Yep. So lots of fire everywhere. There's a little bit weak focus fire by 228. They do take down Gut, but the percentages aren't really going down for SJR. In the meantime, 3 down now for 228. They need to clean this up really quick, otherwise this is going to go in SJR's favor. Glory does overheat at 45% and does get taken down, so 2 now for SJR. Ed is being chased around by Ghost, but those 2 oxides are doing whatever they can.
Kill with that Trebuchet on Overwatch. He's just sitting here getting as much damage in with these lasers as he can, basically riding the heat curve and just absolutely getting free shots with nothing in return.
And 2 mechs remaining for 228, and it looks like this one is going to go in favor of SJR. They do take 1 down just before the end there. I think the last bite got a shot in. He's going to do whatever he can to get 1 more.
Man.
He's opting to fight from inside the dropship, and he gets taken down. So 8-4 in favor of SJR. What a hard fight. There's so much to take in during those hard brawls, but from the percentages, it looked to me like after the initial kill, 228 was struggling to get onto the next target, and we saw an even spread of percentages slowly decreasing. Well, 228's mechs started dying one after another. SJR was doing a really good job focusing the targets. We have 3 kills in the Jenner Oxide for Ghost. But other than that, 1 kill, 1 kill, 1 kill, like very good kill spread by SJR there across the board.
And very good damage values across the board. And again, the Magician in that Trebuchet was sitting there with Overwatch, 342 damage and a kill from an Overwatch mech that basically did not get touched the entire match.
What was his build again?
He had 3 large lasers and 2 mediums in that Trebuchet. He was just sitting on top of the hill over by the Epsilon cap point, that high, tall hill by the buildings, and just sitting up there, firing away, basically nonstop. I think he had the Jenner 2C came over there, got a couple shots on him, and I think then got pulled back into the brawl, and basically left him alone. I didn't see what happened to that Jenner 2C, but after that, the Magician was playing at basically like 90% armor for the rest of the game.
Absolutely. I mean, that was definitely a hard fight. It looked to me like, obviously, they picked the Trebuchet because of the cold map, and he really did get away with just sitting up there. He didn't have, if he's up on top of a building, he didn't really have to worry about oxides coming at him or anything like that, because it would be kind of a waste of time almost. Which, I brought up the map here, and where did they have the Trebuchet sitting? Was it behind dropship, or did he cross?
He was behind dropship. Let me show you exactly where he was sitting, actually.
Is it like right here?
Once we get the map up.
I love this tool, by the way.
Yeah, on that little hill.
Gotcha.
That you can get up from Charlie Land. Yep, the Overwatch hill right on the corner there. That, where Epsilon is. Epsilon's kind of down at this point, and there's that hill right over top, and I just drew right over that mech. So there you go.
All right. So we did have movement up. Stop erasing my lines. We did have movement up, tail of dropship. We did have the Jenner, which was T-Fun, move right up. I would say that was kind of right here, right up to the opposite side of where I think it was the Hunchback 2C, and they had a little bit of an exchange right off the bat there. They both got down to 80% with those heavy SRM volleys. Nobody really got the short end of the stick there, but that kind of started the action, because then here comes the call by Magician to actually loop up around like this and stab right through the middle of them. I know we had one mech up kind of by saddle. I didn't see when he was able to rejoin the fight, but I felt like SJR really had control of the fight from the very beginning. Let's go to the replay and take a look.
The other thing I think that happened is it almost felt like a split push for 228. It felt like their Shadowhawk 2D2 and the Hunchback kind of went down a little further into Lower City, while some of their mechs were kind of closer up on Tactical Hill there. And when SJR pushed, it didn't feel like they were maybe ready for that.
I do feel like they're kind of reacting to the Magician right now. He is up there already laying fire down, and they had a little bit of a tapered start to get to the position that they wanted. And then as they finally started coming over, the SJR mediums were all set up and ready to go. And then they made the call to go in. And they're fighting right where they need to be. This is the perfect place for SJR with that Overwatch. This position is so accessible by Magician that you can just see every once in a while his large lasers come streaking in from over there. And God forbid he ever loses sight on a target. He's able to just get right back in there, and he cools off a little bit, and then he can get right back into tossing shots. And he is hitting everything that he's pointing at. There goes Grim. He got double teamed down with the help of Magician, and that's just tough to beat here. You really feel that 228 would have done a lot better if they didn't allow SGR to decide where that fight was going to take place. They kind of just walked right into it and accepted the fate that they were going to just get hit by those large lasers the entire fight. Now, the Oxides for 228 did a really good job trying to fight it back, and they were one of the, you got the Jenner 2C and the two Oxides, and the Cheetah just goes down there, doing everything they can to just... They do get a kill, and he almost gets this Oxide here, smartly moving in, and just wants one more solid volley, and he couldn't seal the deal. I think that was T-Fun. No, it wasn't T-Fun. It was Ghost. He tried to get that one last one in there, fighting hard, but it does go in favor of Steel Jaguar.
Yeah, I think it was just a good initial movement by SJR, and at no point I think that their movement necessarily feel like they were baiting 228. They just knew, where the standard strategy was for 228 to go to that hill. And they knew that if they kind of engaged, at that point, kept it on the dropship side, there would have been no reason for 228 to do anything else until essentially they realized the trebuchet was there. And at that point, it's very hard to, once you're engaged, it's very hard to move that murder ball, farther away without necessarily breaking off and giving your back to the enemy. How do you get a murder ball to shift locations other than in any sort of organic fashion? How do you force it to shift? I don't think you can. Not in that situation. Not when you've got so many light mechs and everyone's shooting at trying to get behind each other's backs and everything. And it's Absolutely. Just a very good job by SJR essentially playing the tendencies of that map and competitive teams on that map.
Yep, it was a very smart play. So, good start for them. 228's going to need to figure out what they can do to try and bring this back. This will not be... I don't want to call anything early here, but we've seen a lot of really strong openings followed by a really strong retort, and I'd like to see whether 228's able to do that here. 8-3 victory on one side and then flips over to an 8-4 victory for the other team. So, now that they've got a feel for the pace of each other, what's going to happen here on Caustic Valley? This, of course, is 2 lights, 4 mediums, 2 heavies, 0 assaults, no strikes, but streaks will be allowed and sometimes do get brought to these fights. But we will be on Caustic Valley Skirmish. What do you think we're going to see for this one?
That's hard to say. I'm so used to seeing Caustic Valley in drop 5, where you've got all these
All these assaults,
DACA assaults,
yeah,
Maulers and Direwolves and all that stuff, and it's like, man, what do you do on drop 2? It's not, it's a ballistic friendly map because of how warm it is, sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
There's not a lot of ballistic mediums, so I think you'll see some SRM brawlers. You might see, I think you have to see double oxides. Okay, let me just put that right off the bat. But you might see a streak, boat in there because you're running double oxides and they're so good.
Mm-hmm.
But I think most of your mediums are going to be SRM brawlers. I think we're going to see a brawl at this point.
Yeah, I think that would probably make sense. A lot of SRMs, because really there aren't a lot of DACA choices at that light. Sometimes we've seen some dual Goss Overwatch and things like that. So Goss can play a part here. But I have seen this kind of turn into either two extremes. Either really hard brawl with SRMs or...
Or really
standoffy,
with
long
range
crazy
max,
stuff. Yeah. So we'll see what they bring to the party here, and we are headed in.
And that's the key. If you do run standoff, you have to stay mobile. You have to try and keep that distance between you, and with some fast mechs, you might be able to do that.
Yeah, let's get the pip up.
Just taking a look here at SJR's drop deck, it does not look like they're going mobile. They've got a Mad Dog, dual Griffin 3Ms actually, a Jenner Oxide, and a Jenner 2C, and now I just lost the scoreboard, so I don't remember the rest of them.
Well, the dropships are headed in. Choice. We are over on the side of 228. I am seeing Timberwolf, Griffin 3M, dual Griffin 3Ms, Grasshopper 5H. So we are looking pretty brawly for 228.
And SJR has a Streak 6 Mad Dog. They did bring a Jaeger mech in as one of their heavies, so they do have some DACA. They have the Hunchback 4SP. Kind of a brawly deck with a little bit of Overwatch from that Jaeger mech.
So we are having a general movement up to Kildara, both teams looking for each other. Left side, we have Jenner 2C, One Last Bite, just taking a look over on the left. Panic Button actually taking its place. We'll see if T-Fun gets any exchange here. T-Fun and Panic Button, they seem to like to meet each other, and it looks like Panic Button did get the shot in there. But that has initiated some SJR movement, and we have a little bit of a NASCAR with these two mediums kind of caught out. 228 is moving across the center of the map now to meet up with SJR, and SJR is setting up some sort of firing line, but they're looking a little bit scattered.
A little disorganized at this point.
We'll see if they can tighten that up. It only takes a second to get people pointing in the same direction, so let's see what happens and if one team decides to call the move. Good exchanges so far into SJR, I believe, from 228. Let's see if they can keep those shots rolling. One Last Bite is jumping over, and that's a pretty ballsy move. He's getting some shots into the Jaegermech DD from G-Man, bringing DACA.
Right over the hill.
And they are focusing down the DACA hard, and he goes down quickly, very quickly. Next kill target, looks like the Griffin 3M is the kill target for SGR, and they are going for the 4SP with Magician on 228. That's a tanky mech. 2 down now for 228. I don't know if going for the 4SP next was the best idea. He's so damn tanky. He is still alive at 44%. 3 down now for 228. Defunct
this
now.
Is
oh
rapidly
my goodness.
Going in SJR's
yeah, this isn't going too well for 228 right now. Grim is shut down in the Griffin, getting completely slammed on this end. Not much he's going to be able to do. And they have moved on, and they're going to hit Panic Button, and that's all she wrote. A much cleaner victory for SJR, and they do have a Mad Dog with streaks. Pretty sure he's got streaks on it. Yes, he does.
Yeah, it was a Streak 6 Mad Dog, and I didn't get a chance to see exactly how well he did, but gosh, that felt like 228 had the advantage there in the beginning, didn't it?
It really did. It really did. I question the call to opt for the 4SP next because that's. I feel like that's just going to draw it out. The 4SP has enough firepower that you can't just leave it alone. But at the same token, I feel like there was a lot stronger mechs that needed to be killed quicker.
Yeah.
The Mad Dog, the Griffin 3Ms. even if they can get a shot on the oxide, even the 2D2, I feel, can put out more than the Hunchback 4SB.
And he did put out that 2D2 put out 500 damage, 2 kills. It was the most damage in the game. So, and the Mad Dog 435, top 2 scoring mechs there. Yeah, I'm with you. I question the Hunchback, and I think the reason I question the Hunchback is it does do a decent amount of damage, but the heavier the drops become, the less, relatively speaking, the less amount of damage that Hunchback puts out. And I think in drop 1, that Hunchback is certainly dangerous. And drop 2, I don't know. I don't think it's the most dangerous on the field. And if you notice, SJR did the opposite. The Hunchback was their last kill target. And clearly they were able to do something right there. But, man, I mean, it felt like SJR was a little disorganized on the edge of the Caldera. It felt like 228 just pushed right into him, was aggressive, which I think is a good thing to do in a brawl deck. And the other part of that was that they got that Jaeger mech, which we all know can do a tremendous amount of damage. I do think
that was a very good shot.
Yeah.
I think that was a very good choice to take that guy down as quickly as possible. So that was a really good choice. But it all comes down to continuing to choose the right targets. And maybe the 4SP was the first one they saw because he's supposed to be. But it was such a massive murder ball. I just do think that might have been a missed call. Heading over to the map here, we had Alpha Charlie for both teams. That puts SJR a little bit tighter than 228. We did have initially a light in this area right here. Panic Button actually joined him with another medium, and I was getting a little concerned because it looked like 228 might have been curving around this corner. But after SJR got really close to Panic, they decided to cut straight across. Now, I do think that in this instance that regardless of how many SRMs you have, you're still fighting from the Caldera, which is, besides standing in lava, the hottest point in any map in this game. It's got so much heat. So that could wear you down, regardless of whether you have SRMs. They probably could have traded from there effectively for a bit longer, but really you don't, especially bringing a Grasshopper, you don't want to have to sit in there for too long. So they did wisely call the move, and we did see the light lead the charge, get some good shots on the DD, and then they took him down really quick. And I thought that was looking really good. Now, we're saying that SJR looked a little sloppy, but at the same token, it literally only takes a second for SJR to get their feet set and start putting their shots on target. So I don't think that their perceived disorganization lasted too long, because as soon as that first target comes around the corner, they got into gear and started focusing very well. Now, like I said, that DD going down I think was very good, but then we saw, like, just in the foray, I just saw a transition to the 4SP, and that, like I said, it took him so long to take him down.
Yeah.
He's tanking down to 40%, and I don't know if they ever actually sealed the deal on him. So all of that effort against him was essentially a waste. And let's see if the replay's up here. Let's go take a look. So we do have that initial standoff. SJR on the outside, looking in, 228 in the Caldera, running hot, but like I said, I think they could have stuck around if they needed to a little bit longer. Looks like the Mad Dog's kind of right in the middle, just dropping streaks like crazy. Here comes one last bite, and I was a little bit worried about his initial movement, but he got away with it. The Mad Dog, though, is just shredding him pretty much solo, just watching those streaks go in. One last bite just got completely decimated by streaks. G-Man does go down, and then I'm watching the percentages trying to pick out who their next target is, and it looked split between several targets, but you could tell Magician is really their primary, down to 42 now, and just 228 mechs just dropping like flies. Just the amount of firepower that Steel Jags is able to put out was just impressive.
Yeah, and they did it like you said. I agree with you. I felt they were a little disorganized. When they originally pushed, it didn't feel clean. But they were
are you
all
talking about
together.
228?
SJR.
SJR, okay.
SJR.
Yeah. They were together, and that's huge.
Feel clean, but they were all together. And like you said, when they push in, you start calling targets. Everyone's there. Everyone can see the kill target. They clearly, whether they were disorganized or not, I can only say what it felt like or what it looked like watching it live. I don't know whether it was actually true, but clearly they were able to, whatever the situation was before they pushed, they were able to pull it together. And the only complaint I might have is that they were all together, and I don't know if they were necessarily expecting 228 to push over, because if they were, I would not have had that Jaeger mech that close. That's the only, I guess, the only nit I can really have with the position.
They might have been planning on charging in.
I think they were planning on charging in. Yeah.
Which is definitely a possibility. Really quick, let's go ahead and do ourselves a giveaway while we're waiting, but we're going to do this relatively quick. And this is for some premium time codes. Good crowd out there. Good crowd out there tonight. This seems really loud again. Let me fix that. Maybe it's just me. And the winner is Slummy from EMP. Congratulations. We will send those codes over to you. Rigged. So I will put you down on my sheet. And we are going into our first Conquest drop. Polar Highlands. This is the Commander Assassination map. 0 lights, 3 mediums, 4 heavies, 1 assault, and the assault has to be a victor. And still no strikes. No lights on Polar Highlands. We've been seeing quite a few different types of strategies here. You've got the guys that just go balls out to try and put the damage out as quickly as possible. You've got the cap strat opting for the fast medium, Shadowcat, Cicada, Ice Ferret, whatever floats your boat. What do you think we're going to see out of these two teams?
I think we're going to see ranged. I think that's what will. I'm gonna guess ranged from these two teams. I don't know if they'll play the cap game or not. It's tough to say. I think a lot of teams have done that. We've seen some teams focus purely on cap and be able to do it by essentially sacrificing all of your mechs. Shades of the, what was it, Isengrim versus Alpha Wolves match, I believe, was how that was played out. But I just think at this level, both teams are going to want to fight it out. You know, these are top tier teams sort of thing. They're going to want to fight it out. I think they're going to just do trading back and forth. But the other side is we could see like a fast brawl deck. And
get your pip up.
If one team goes ranged and the other team goes fast brawl, they could get on top of them. And if you get on top of them fast enough, it's game over. So I love Polar for the simple fact that there's so many different things you can do on this map, and it's really hard to predict.
You need to pay attention to the caps, though. If you're lucky, both teams will ignore the cap, and you can just fight it out. But if somebody's focusing on caps, that is going to really put some pressure on you to have to make the move. Dual Grasshoppers 4228 paired with a Black Knight and a Victor 9B, Stormcrow, Hunchback 2C, Timberwolf, and Enforcer 4R. What do you have over on the SJR side?
I have a headshot. That's what I think I just did there, but it's pretty good. Let's take a look here real quick. We have T-Fun and the Ice Ferret. It's a popular SJR mech of late if you read anything on the Outreach Reddit forums there. Shadowcat for the Pie Maker. We have Dragon Slayer, which is Large Pulse SRM 6 Artemis. I have never seen that build before. Black Knight, Large Pulses, Medium Lasers. Again, Black Knights, that's pretty standard for this drop. Grasshoppers, Large Pulses, Medium Lasers. And of course, Jaeger in the Timberwolf. This is not a ranged deck at all. Blackjack 1X mediums. This is a medium range to almost a brawl deck.
Now, it looks like SJR is going hard on the caps, but 228 is going hard on the fight. They are not bringing ER largest to this. This is a large pulse laser deck. I think they're going to have a little bit of a surprise when they run into that main body, if they are as brawly as you think. But at the same token, 8 mechs versus the 6, they could still potentially do quite a bit of damage on this cold map. But first, the challenge is to identify where the main body is, and I don't think they've had the opportunity to see them yet. They are obviously seeing Epsilon, Theta, and Gamma getting capped. So that is raising alarms as to what's happening here. But one last bite in the Hunchback 2C is actually getting very, very close, and they're about to spot him. He doesn't know where they are, and he's going to take a lot of free hits there. So he does get knocked down to 88%, 87%, completely oblivious to where they are, but now they know, and we'll see what movement these guys plan. Now, I think he might have seen the some of those PPCs and stuff come by, so they might be thinking SJR is rolling a pokey deck, but SJR's coming in strong. They are calling in those mediums to join the fight, and it's going to be a straight-up 8v8 right in the center. Let's see what happens. Looks like percentage is starting to drop on both sides. The Black Knight getting picked on SJR's side. On 228, the Crow and Grasshopper taking big hits, and the Timber. Looks like they've switched to the Timber. They're just hitting
Pisces
anything
Zero
that's open at this point.
In the Crow, and he just went down.
Yeah, he got run up on by
came around
Magician.
in that Blackjack 1X and just absolutely ripped him a new one.
Now, they are putting a lot of fire on the opposing Timberwolf, though. They are not by any means out of this, but they lost their own Timber in the process. He got a little bit out front, and the Ice Ferret was able to work him down on the right flank here.
And now Greeman, the Enforcer, is in a lot of trouble, and he just lost all of his weapons to see if SJR switches off, and they do. But this is a pretty cless match so far, 3-2 right now.
Yeah, they have been getting some good focus fire in there now. It's effectively 5v5 with that sticked mech. Now 4v5, but 228 needs to start getting these shots on target. Their percentages are very low. They can't sustain this unless they start getting some really good core outs here. They're working the Victor down.
Feels like they're under a lot of pressure right now. I just feel SJR is holding the advantage in this brawl, and it certainly looks like it's going to go that way.
It is a very close fight. The Grasshopper goes down, and the last one with weapons here, one last bite. He goes for Magician, who just shut down but was not able to seal the deal. He is probably not going to get him unless he can get a really good shot to finish. No, he's just got his zombie laser, and that's it.
Yeah.
8-4 in favor of SJR, so they have won 3 in a row now. 228 opting for the hard fight strat, and unfortunately for them, the brawliness of SJR seemed to win out. I think that was a little bit of a surprise, and it was a little bit sneaky too. You know, having such a brawly deck, but then also opting for the 2 mediums going for the caps, it kind of throws you off a little bit. You start thinking, oh man.
And you know what else they did? They had the Pie Maker and the Shadow Cat who did 400 damage doing this strat, but he was in a 2 large pulse Shadow Cat running around the edges. He was not with the main group, and he was firing in as 228 was pushing up on SJR. He's firing in at them, and I think that adds a little bit extra confusion. Like, okay, what are they trying to do a ranged deck here because they've got this guy off to the side kind of poking in and things? You know, are they trying to spread us out and do some damage? And it just, again, I've really felt like SJR had the advantage throughout that drop. You know, even in the trades when they're trading back and forth at close range, you know, within everyone's optimum ranges, it just felt like consistently SJR was getting their shots on and forcing 228 to try and twist and spread damage more than engage.
Absolutely. So let's head over to the map real quick. We'll take a look at what we saw. Polar Highlands Conquest. Pretty straightforward from 228. They just went right to the center. We did have 1 medium go to Epsilon for SJR, 1 curve around to Theta. Main body went Gamma, and then really kind of came over here and then cut in as soon as they saw that first Hunchback, and the fight happened right in dead center, and they really just started curving around each other. Motion or movement in this map is very important. But the large pulse lasers just didn't seem to be able to win out against the more brawly deck from SJR. And like you said, I mean, right when the fight started, we saw the mediums just cascade right on top of it to make it that 8v8 fight. You know, you start thinking they're going to run
from the edges. Yep.
Yeah, you think they're going to run some sort of retreat deck, but I did see in my replay and stuff, we'll see it, the Ice Ferret doing quite a bit of damage on that outside. In fact, I'm pretty sure he probably got some of the kills. I didn't catch the scoreboard, but really just harassing very well on that outside and just taking away the flanks. Magician running right up into the fray and getting some really good kills right off the bat as well. Just the taking the initiative, I think, is for individual pilots taking the initiative, I think is really what kind of won this out. It wasn't necessarily all 8 targets shooting one guy, but it's the individual movement taking the risk and getting away with it, which added up in favor of SJR. Both teams were doing it, though. I just think that it was done more by SJR, and that was kind of a John Madden comment, I know, but you know, it's hard to call out every single good play when you have this many mechs shooting back and forth in. And really, like I said, it is a very individual type fight. It's very hard to get true focus on a single target because these hills do break up sight lines very well. It's not as flat as people make it out to be. But we are looking at
it's certainly not.
We're looking at the replay now, and we're seeing the initial trades from 228. I think they might be a little bit surprised at how aggressive SJR is being at this point, because I wouldn't doubt it. In their heads, they're thinking, okay, SJR's playing Capstrat. They're going to play a very passive, drag it out as long as possible style. I may be completely wrong on that, but that's would have gone through my head, and I probably would have lost the match too. but then we're seeing Magician running down that Crow on the left side, and then the Ice Ferret is in the fight, but he breaks off here, and he comes back around for the Timber. He's actually shooting past the Timber, so I don't even know if he got a shot on the Timber. He just was in the vicinity. That might have been a bad call on my part too, but he was actually shooting into the main body, and somebody else took it out. Getting the arm off the Griffin, very good heads-up play, leaving him alive, switching off very quickly. I did see 228 work down the Victor for Steel Jaguar, so they did steal the bonus away with that kill. It was a good focus shot. This felt a lot closer at the start here, but then the percentages for 228, they're just getting worn down, and it just takes 1 or 2 shots to finish each mech out. There's the Victor kill right there, but then it just starts going south for him. 2 mechs dying simultaneously, doesn't take too much to clean up, and unfortunately not able to finish off Magician with that last little bit, and gets pretty much sticked. He just has the zombie laser left, and that's it for one last bite. Good effort by him to try and seal the deal at the end there.
Yeah.
But the odds were definitely stacked against him.
Yeah, and you know, it's tough when you realize the match is essentially over and you're just trying to pick up those last couple kills. You know, you're trying to do everything you can because you know you're not going to clutch that match back. Not in that advantage, not in this sort of environment. So you're just trying to get those kills, and you see a guy shut down. It's tough when you don't make that, but you know.
Goodness gracious,
Quicksilver. They certainly tried it, yeah.
Quicksilver and the Black Knight doing 619 damage on that, far more than anybody else on his team. He must have been able to just sit there and unload essentially untouched. But Pisces Zero down 72 damage. He was the first guy taken out. That Crow just got a little bit caught out on that left side. It looked like he was attempting to retreat, but they were not going to let him get away with that. And they just rolled him over.
Yeah, and I think he kind of unfortunately got himself crested on top of one of those hills, and right in the middle, you're on one of those hills you can't really break into cover as quickly because the hills in the middle are a little smoother, a little more rounded, whereas on the edges there's some more kind of jagged drop-offs where you can back up just a couple meters and drop down. On those hills you can't. You know, the Magician very obviously saw that he got up on one of those hills and maybe pushed a little too far forward and pushed around hard with that Blackjack 1X. And the thing that I don't think a lot of people maybe necessarily realize, that Blackjack 1X is fast. It's really
very fast. Was it like 118 or something?
Yeah, it's faster than a Stormcrow. You know, it's lightning fast, and that's a wicked alpha on that thing. It's a very, very good mech, and he just pushed right up on him, gave him one good solid alpha, and then just another alpha to finish him off, and that was it.
Absolutely. So we are going to be heading into Drop 4 Canyon Network on Conquest. This is actually, yet again, I love seeing these, this is probably going to be the closest thing to the tournament you will see in MRBC, assuming they decide to opt for Canyon Network for their qualifiers, which my assumption is they're going to do Canyon Network throughout the entire qualifier if it's best of one. round robin or something like that, but it will be a 2-2-2-2 split. So 2 lights, 2 mediums, 2 heavies, 2 assaults. Strikes will be finally allowed, as they will be in drop 5 as well. But there's a lot of things you can do on Canyon. It's a very balanced map, and there's a lot of choices you can make. Conquest definitely makes things interesting, but it's really tough to win the cap strat without having some major standoff. Really capping in this map is more to incite movement, more so than to sneak a win with a cap. You know, you get a 3 cap, and it puts it on the other team to make a movement. So you can sometimes see choices in the very first part of this map make a huge difference. So we'll have to see who comes away with it here. And what choices are made. This is going to be a definitely a drop caller battle to move these mechs around and try and get them in an advantageous position.
And the other thing about that is since this is the first drop with assaults, we're going to probably see some maulers. And if we don't see some maulers, we're going to see some mechs with some very high alphas. And that initial positioning, if you can get those early shots in on Canyon, can mean a whole heck of a lot as the match goes on, especially because, you know, mechs can kind of drop down, they can pull back behind cover, drag things out, but that initial damage, those initial trades can wind up being the difference in the game.
So just really quick before we get in there, on the map, just want to show out a couple key positions that we see used quite a bit, and not saying that this is what we're definitely going to see, but this is kind of the standard fallback that we see. D4 is a very strong ranged position, and we do see teams taking advantage of that quite a bit. The counter to that, of course, is moving your main body up towards Epsilon from the Team 2 position, and that kind of gives you the only reasonable angle at that position. So going in, we'll see what these guys opt for. Just popping in right now. Get the pip up.
Just taking a look at SJR here, they do have a Mauler MX90, but they also have a Battlemaster 1G. It's not their duplicate for the dual Maulers. Their duplicate are actually Hunchback 2Cs. That's an interesting choice for that. They also have a Grasshopper, Jenner 2C, and I believe an Oxide in there.
So on the 228 side, we do have dual Mauler MX90s, Jenner Oxide, and Jenner 2C. Hunchback 2C and Enforcer 4R looks like they might be going for a little bit more of a pokey deck to maybe counter that D4 position, if that's the position that SJR opts to take. Grasshopper and Black Knight, of course. What do we have? Movement here from SJR. Looks like they aren't opting to put a majority of their players in Delta 4. They do have some long range, getting some initial pokes, though, from ER large distances. But that could be a little bit more of a bait. Aerosai and the Grasshopper just basically able to hit from extreme range. Magician right next to him in the Hunchback 2C. But we are seeing an interesting non-movement by the assaults for SJR. I'm not sure what they're going for.
SJR has a disconnect. They're asking for a mulligan at this point.
Looks like it might have been Quicksilver. He's just kind of sitting here. Maybe.
Yeah, he is disconnected.
Okay. Well, it was within 1 minute, so they can be granted that mulligan. Are we going to see some suicides here? Yep, it looks like they're overheating and killing themselves. So, a little bit of a misstart. We will pop back. And while we wait, let's go ahead and do a giveaway here. Let me load up those names again. So they called the mulligan within the 1 minute, which is completely acceptable. Shit happens. So they are going to get out, and we'll see how it goes. So here we go.
For Ralza and this Mauler here, I'm not sure if he's going to be able to figure out a way to get out of bounds.
Round and round it goes. Who's our winner during this unfortunate disconnect? And it's not his first time winning, but here he is again. MW222. You are the winner of some premium time codes. We will send you those after the cast is completed.
I did not even know there's a canyon that just continues on back here out of bounds that Ralza is exploring right now.
Yeah.
You learn something new every day.
Yep, there is a canyon that goes off to a giant city. Let me show what people are... Here, see? Rosa is killing himself right here. And this canyon goes on. If anybody's wondering what's over here, it is a 2D city.
Wow.
So we'll take a quick sneak peek at the decks. We already pretty much saw them, but there you go.
So I'm curious to see how SJR plays out this strategy with 2 Hunchback 2Cs as their duplicates. I mean, they're not bad mechs, but it's not dual maulers. You know, right? It's a little bit of an interesting drop deck choice, having the Battle Master and the Mauler instead. And don't get me wrong, I like Battle Masters. I've been working on leveling them myself, and they are a fun mech to play. They have very high hard points, good laser vomit mechs. We all know laser vomit is kind of the thing to do, but definitely maybe not what we would expect out of your first 2 assault mechs.
Yeah, I mean, they kind of did a little bit of a scattered strat. Now, I think one thing to keep in mind here, we can go ahead and look back at the map. Now, we did show that D4 is an advantageous position, but purely based on the layout of their selection, I guess, for the lances, they didn't look like they were going to go D4 with a majority of their mechs. They had kind of their assaults over here. Now, it could have very well been a mistake, I guess. Well, no, we see Quicksilver. Their assaults were in Alpha Lance, so they are not going to D4. So the question is where were they intending to go? Like, they got a long way to go before they can get up to any sort of high ground. So that could completely change the decision-making for 228 here. You know, they might not opt to just go streaking up to Epsilon like we originally planned. They were taking a lot of early scratch from Charlie Lance, a lot of early from Aerosai, and of course Magician right there as well. So I don't think 228's going to allow that to happen again. They might try something different. Both teams obviously can completely change up their strategy here. But without shifting lances around, what could you possibly do to really, as SJR, I guess, mix it up? But they might just continue with what they were planning. So let's go in and...
Yeah, I don't know if they really revealed the ultimate purpose of their strategy there. If they did, I didn't catch it.
They didn't reveal it, but at the same token, if you're 228, you're a little bit alarmed with what you just saw, and you're going to have to call an audible. So let's see what Panic Button can do for his team to get them a little bit more on page. I don't think we're going to see people just walking up the same hills they just did.
Yeah.
But we'll see what happens here. We are back in, and yet again, we're seeing the same lance setup, of course, for both sides. Little bit of a reset. Now, these guys kind of came up top and took a look across. We're taking a lot of scratch. We'll see. Are these guys going to just straight up double back? Are they going to go take D4 for themselves? They could very well just charge right up through Epsilon and take it for themselves. We'll have to see. But we are on the move. So they are getting up to mid-grade, but they're not sticking their head out like they did before. It looks to me like SJR is setting up pretty much exactly the same way they had before, with Airsize sitting way in the back, but he's definitely not shooting nearly as much as before. And there's a good reason for that. Of course, we do see... Oh, looks like Quicksilver and Ruza are finding themselves a shimmy spot to get up to the top by Gamma here. So that's what they were intending to do.
Took a lot of damage there trying to get Theta from 228's max, which was set up in Charlie 4. He got ripped up in that initial trade.
Now, he did successfully get it, though, which is good for SJR. If they can keep somebody from sneaking up there, they can just hold positions and work the long-range game against 228. Now, we do have a heavy movement of the lights, and it looks like the Maulers coming around Epsilon's side.
They're coming around the corner there.
So they are going to challenge that D4 position. I don't think that's necessarily a bad plan. Take away that position, and then you can worry about the cap game. But this will allow them to get angles on those other assaults. I don't know if they know that they're up there, though. they're walking right into the firing line of the Mauler and the Battlemaster, and Panic Button just getting completely shredded for it going up that ramp.
They do have a mech in Echo 4 there. It looks like
T-Fun's coming up for a little bit of an ambush here on Krisman. He does get a shot in, but he was discovered, so the light's definitely keeping pressure on Theta, not allowing these 3 mechs to cap it back. But we do have a trade war and a lot of strikes going back and forth. But Cap's still in favor of SJR, even though they're kind of held into a very corner-type position. They're still maintaining the 3 caps. Maybe somebody should go back and take Epsilon. Is 228 planning on sealing the deal here pretty quick? Because it doesn't look to me like they're winning these trades.
No, it does not. But at this point, you know, with the 3 cap, they do have the advantage, but they've got a little bit of time, I think, if they're planning on, you know, winning. Well, obviously they're planning on winning these trades, but if they feel that they're winning these trades, I think they're fine getting these caps. But as you said, if they're not winning these trades, they might want to grab Epsilon.
I think that SJR put themselves in a bit of a sticky situation by playing back by the radio tower. However, 228's just letting them get away with it. They're actually going to 4-cap. They're taking Sigma now with a lone light in Sigma.
And they're 4-capping with, and now there we go. There's some engagement at Theta, and they've decapped Theta, but the
it's not going to be enough.
It's not going to be enough if they don't get a couple more cap points here.
Now they are starting to get a lot more shots in on these assaults. I think they're starting to find their groove here, and one last bite putting some harassment in the back.
Yeah.
So the percentage is still heavily in favor of SJR, but if 228 can start sneaking some of these back, we'll see if they can start getting some key kills.
For SJR.
The Grasshopper, the ER large laser Grasshopper has gone down. That's very good for 228. They need to try and take that momentum. They've actually forced Magician to play down on this ramp. He only has one place he can peek up here, and if they just keep their crosshair on this area, they can potentially rip his head off every time he peeks it. They can punish him, but he does get a good shot on Krisman. Wow, the percentage is getting lower and lower for 228. It all comes down to the individual trades here and how well they can put their shots on target. We're going to see people dying rapid fire any second now.
Another important thing to note, Uncle Russ for SJR in the Arctic Cheetah actually lost both of his arms. He only has 2 lasers left. He's essentially crippled even though he's in a fresh Cheetah at this point.
So we do have Dr. Killer versus T-Fun. 1v2 fight here. The Arctic Cheetah doesn't have too many lasers available, but Dr. Killer is very hurt and actually gets backcored.
And he goes down, but then Uncle Russ just goes down. They've got some mechs right at the top of that ramp
They need to take T-Fun down now if they're planning on winning this. Taking 2 lights out of the picture would be huge.
I don't know if SJR, well, I'm sure they know at this point, but I don't know how much they can do about those mechs sitting right on Delta 3, right around the corner from them.
228 is making their move. They have to seal the deal here, so they are getting very, very close. They can't stagnate any longer if they're going to win this. So they're trying to find their angle, maybe pick somebody off that comes around a little bit too aggressively. But this is a very close fight. The scoreboard, I mean,
SJR is very, very beat up at this point, and they've got to be careful. Too much farther back, and they're going to drop off the edge of the canyon here, and they're going to really take themselves out of the fight. They cannot afford to have mechs dropping down.
228 really needs to just find their angles. This is so close, but one good shot from anybody can drop a mech easily. So it's very, very tight peaks right here. Let's see if one last bite can get a sneak shot in with his SRMs. He does get hit by a Magician who has faded off to the side, getting a little bit of distance, taking away those angles.
And that distance is very important right now because SJR has a lot of mechs down in the canyon. I don't know if 228 realizes this, but they have a huge advantage in Delta 3. They need to push in now.
They're stagnating, and unfortunately that's going to cost them. They've dropped their dual maulers down. They kill the light, which is great, but now their maulers are on the low ground. They've got a long way to go. The match is going to be halfway over by the time they even get up the hill. Those maulers are basically ineffective, and it's going to be all up to Defunct and Ed to try and work this last angle, because I don't see these maulers getting to the fight before it hits 700 tickets. They've put themselves in a very sticky situation to get that kill.
Very stagnant right there, and they need to be more aggressive. They do push around and get one of the maulers. Here they come pushing around.
All right.
SJR doesn't have any mechs other than Glory to really put some fire down. She's
Now,
the only one right now that's got eyes.
Sigma seems to be the important fight here. One Last Bite is going for the cap. Magician now, because of the flash, knows he's there. I don't know. He might not have seen it. He's walking away.
Yeah, he is.
Does he even have weapons? I'm assuming he has weapons in that.
He does have weapons, yes.
So they're opting to let him
got all of his weapons.
Flip Sigma, which is good. He's the only light there, but he's completely segregated from the rest of his team. That one light, though, can make a world of difference. Like I said, though, the Maulers are still down in the frickin' pit. They're just completely out of the fight. It's going to be up to Defunct, Ed, and Krisman to win this for their team, unless...
And here comes Jaeger and the Timberwolf. He is heading towards Sigma, but I don't know if that light's still there. He's already gone.
Now, Sigma is going to have... Sigma might have a close fight here. Jaeger wondering where the hell that came from, but he's hurting right now. That's all CT damage, I'm thinking.
He cannot afford to take a shot at this point. He is bright red CT. He does have seismic, so he can see it incoming, but he's got to do something here. He has no center torso armor.
Jaeger is getting a little bit of distance from One Last Bite. Cap's now in favor of 228, but they still have to get Epsilon flipped back over. Oh, man!
What a great shot by Jaeger.
That hurt like hell, but One Last Bite is still in this. He needs to stop messing with Sigma for a while. He's got bigger fish to fry. His buddies are coming to help him out, but the whole time Gamma's going to be the next target. Maybe that's a good place for these Maulers to go to secure the caps. They're still hemorrhaging. It's slow, but it's
tough to call.
It's tough to call.
It's tough to call at this point.
They're all working up to try and take that timber down.
They have such a number advantage that they need to split up at this point, I think.
I can't believe they're all just walking away from Gamma. He's going to get a free cap on Gamma. Those Maulers are not going to be able to get all the way back. That could be a game-sealing flip for Gamma.
Oh, and Jaeger got the light. He got One Last Bite down.
That's big.
Sigma.
That's very big.
I don't think 228 has the speed now to deal with this.
They are going to take Jaeger down, so now Gamma, Epsilon is already captured. They're going to go for Epsilon, but Gamma's going to fall. That might be enough for SJR to sneak it. Well, we'll have to watch and see the numbers to see whether or not that's true. The Magician does not need to stay alive. He does not need to stay alive. In fact, if it gets close enough, all he has to do is stand off and hit whoever's flipping Gamma. Just hit him enough to stop it. It looks like that's exactly what he's going to do. He's going to hide back in the corner, and he's going to do, with his last breath, he is going to attempt to stop the cap on Gamma, and I think he's going to get away with it. We'll see if anybody even gets into the square, but very good heads-up play by SJR, working the cap game as hard as possible. And I
we
think
spent all of the intro talking about how caps is not the way to go on this map.
Well, like I said, caps is going to force movement, and it did force movement for 228, but it forced it way, way too late. Oh, man. A Magician might be showing his shoulder just a little bit too much.
Some fire just came in on that
trying to do whatever he can. If he gets a lucky shot on this, it might be enough to flip it. If Magician gets pegged...
Whoa. AC5s just went right past the cockpit.
He needs to be freaking careful.
He's not
he does go down!
Oh, he's down!
If they get on the point, they could possibly flip this. 43.
It's all a matter of how fast.
44. 45. If they neutralize it, it's over. 46. 47. 48.
SJR's got it.
49. And they did it with 1 point remaining. They won it. Holy crap.
Wow.
That could not have been closer. That could not have been closer. I think 228 definitely got away with murder on this one.
They did. Absolutely.
I felt like that was horribly misplayed in so many aspects. But the final shot from Panic Button to take out Magician was all it took.
And Magician just could not help but peek that. He was... I think if he hadn't have peeked that, I don't think he would have been killed. I don't know whether he was out of bounds or... I don't think he was out of bounds spectating him. It didn't give the out of bounds notice.
I don't think he was. I think he needed to wait for it to start flashing before he peeked it. He needed to wait for it to just start flashing because it doesn't matter how many mechs are in that point. If you hit one of them, it stops the entire cap. So as soon as it starts flashing, you can take that peek. And I think that 5 seconds that it buys you might have been enough, but he was never able to get that 5
Considering
seconds.
how close that was, I think it absolutely would have been enough. An additional 1 second would have been enough for SJR to win that game. That was, wow.
I've never seen
close.
one end that freaking close ever on Conquest. Get out of here, Map. You're 100% wrong. Let's wipe that sucker out. Oh, my goodness. Now, I don't want to be too hard on 228, but I really do feel like they were misplaying. But at the same token, they were keeping their mechs alive, and that is huge. They had, 6 mechs left at the end of that one? I got to update my score here.
Alive. They did stay alive. They had 6 mechs alive, which is a very valuable thing to have, especially when you're down on caps and you need to spread out and cap. 6 mechs alive is the thing to go.
Absolutely, and only losing 2 guys. I mean, that's a big score beater for Steel Jaguar. That does hurt. Now, obviously, they've effectively won the match, but the Black 228 needed this to stay alive. They needed this to stay alive. So, initial movement, we actually had Alpha Lance Assaults shimmy. I think this is where they shimmied up. They got up into this point here. They did have Aeroside go up to this initial rock with, I think, D4 Magician position. And Bravo Lance kind of went up and joined them at D3. So really, this staging area for SJR was right here. And like I said, I felt like it's a good power position to control the map.
Yep.
I'm contradicting myself. It's a power position to be able to lay out some killer frickin' damage. I feel like it's hard to hold a 3-cap from that position, though. They did get Theta. T-Fun did get hurt while taking it. But they did take Theta, and so they held, I think, Epsilon, Theta, Gamma, maybe even Kappa. I'll have to look at the replay, but it was a 3-cap, and 228 was ignoring the caps. But their aggression was so slow that it's like, why are you ignoring the caps and then stagnating this bad? Now, they were hurt. They were very hurt. And they were picking off SJR mechs. Gotta give them credit.
Yeah.
But the clock's ticking, and it's making me worried, and you could hear it, that I was getting a little bit worried there, that there's going to be a point of no return. Obviously, if you kill every single SJR mech in the field and are able to flip caps, then awesome, and that's exactly what it ended up happening. Killing that light at the end there was huge. And
they basically reached the absolute limit of the point of no return on that. That was as close to the edge as you could get.
Absolutely.
Man.
Oh, boy.
I don't know what else to say.
Let's go back to the replay.
I am impressed at 228 for both teams being very, very damaged at that point when everyone is essentially one-shot CT. It comes purely down to good positioning and timing and accuracy of your first shot, because you only get one chance. You got to shoot and get right back into cover. You cannot afford to take any damage. And 228 there, in what was essentially a highly skill-driven, sort of result, did a great job staying alive and getting those SJR mechs down. That was very impressive. And you have to remember that one of those few kills that SJR had, I think they only got, 3 or 4 kills. One of them was Jaeger at the very end, essentially when they were already outnumbered significantly, just trying to do what he could to hold off that cap. So, very nice job by 228.
The positioning of the Maulers really concerned me. When they opted to drop down, they were taking themselves out of the fight for so long, and I really feel that almost lost it for them. The amount of time, and they ran all the way up to Theta, and then they had to turn around and run all the way back when they started losing Gamma. Like, they spent so much time running around. They did get some key shots in there, but here we go. We're starting to see in my replay at the position I'm at, every single mech on the field incredibly, incredibly hurt, to the point where one-shot kills all around. And I'm watching the pip here, trying to see some of these shots and just seeing how tight they're playing and just how risky some of these shots are. Really, just good job by 228 maintaining their bodies that long. And a lot of that probably had to do with how slow they were moving. They were taking it very, very slow. And that, like we said, that's freaking me out, man. But obviously they were 1 second fast enough to pull it off. And that Magician at the end there, I'm like, he's going to get pegged. And
Yeah,
he's not going to
he
get that
kept
free 5
poking out.
seconds.
Yep.
The value of that 5 seconds when the tickets are rolling, I can't believe how close that ended up.
Yeah, absolutely. That was, man.
And
It just happened on chat here. I'm watching chat explode on Twitch with the results there. But
one last
I
bite
think
in the Jenner.
holy smokes.
One last bite in the Jenner, keeping himself alive against Jaeger, and then just that. I can't. He could have easily have peaked that and just got completely pegged, and he did eventually get pegged. Losing that light mech was gigantic, but it didn't end up mattering. It didn't. Oh man, that shot is just brutal, and he gets away with it. This could have gone either way in a heartbeat for either team. Like RNG, crit RNG could have frickin' changed the outcome of this match, for Christ's sake. In any way, shape, or form. I've never seen this many mechs with percentages that low and colors that red on their components and keeping that many people alive for as long as they did. Well played, 228.
Yeah. Just
horribly played,
Oof.
228, but way to stick with it and way to keep your guys alive. But everything I'm going to say is going to get me in trouble here, because it's like I do feel like they misplayed it, but at the same token, them misplaying it is what kept them alive long enough to take it to victory.
True.
It's just, it's so hard to judge where mistakes were made. We can all come back to just the Magician on that last corner, man, but there's so many decisions that were made. This was like over 10 minutes of gameplay where decisions that were made from the very beginning had a cascading impact throughout this entire match. There's no one incident in this that I can really put everything on. And then this was a great play by Magician. This is what needed to happen. This is absolutely what needed to happen. But from my camera angle on Magician, that shoulder, they see the smoke, they know where he is,
Yep.
They know what his plan is. And you've got
maybe
panic
that's
button.
something that Magician just forgot about, was not only was he maybe exposing a little bit and he kept peeking out, but that smoke is there too from all those damaged components. It's giving away a lot of cues as to where you are.
So panic button going as hard as frickin' possible, not doing any sort of sneaky maneuver, just cutting into the point as hard as he possibly can. Everybody else right on his tail. We did see Magician get away with one there. He needed to wait until the point started flashing. Absolutely needed to wait until the point started flashing. Oh! Oh, what a good shot by Panic Button to seal that one. And then it's not just Panic Button. He needs the second guy in there. Full speed freaking assault mechs. And there he goes. And even gets the third in, and that could have been it. I mean, even that third mech might have been required. Like, that was probably like a 0.1 second.
I don't think there's any way that they could have done anything different than how they capped that. I think it's just way too close for them to say, oh, maybe they only needed 2 mechs. Had to have 3. Had to have them all in there. And, worked out for them. I don't have anything else to say to that.
I think I completely missed the scoreboard there because I was just blown away by that. I don't know if I brought the pip down, but I am seeing Quicksilver pulling 500. There we go. Magician 502 on the Hunchback, 507 with the Battlemaster on Quicksilver. Airside did get picked a little early, and that was pretty brutal with those ER larges. That could have gone a long way. Dr. Killer in the Oxide, only 76. That little 2v1 really got him in trouble. They did take the Arctic Cheetah down, but then, he gets backcored too. That's pretty brutal.
They did get some damage, though, because they pushed up when that engagement happened on the ramp, when 228 had some mechs, basically, in Delta 3 on the other side of SJR's main force. And so they got some extra damage on those lights, and losing those lights easily could have been the difference in that game.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, you could have forced Magician to poke out a little bit sooner. I mean, it's... Both sets of lights could have made such a big difference here.
Yeah, I think anything could have made a big difference there. That was just
I don't even know where to begin.
Yeah. Yep.
All I know
next
is,
drop.
All I know is my wife is making fun of me for getting loud there. She's upstairs, and I'm sure I shook the house.
Oh, well.
But we are heading into Drop 5, River City Conquest. This is a pretty heavy drop. 2 lights, 0 mediums, 2 heavies, 4 assaults. Strikes are allowed. River frickin' City. This should be interesting. We've been seeing a lot of heavy brawl rushes, even with this many assaults. Bringing up the map here, let's take a look. SJR Team 1, they could easily throw all of their assaults in Alpha and just take them straight across the river. We've been seeing that quite a bit. It got used successfully against us. We attempted to do it against somebody else, and it got really close. It's risky because there's so many rocks and stuff that you can get caught up on heading out there. But at the same token, Starport is a very powerful position to just give up. It's got such a primo overwatch of Theta, and Gamma's a freebie, and Kappa's easy enough to take without worrying about it, especially when you got the lights. You'd have to send your lights up through Kappa like this. It's all in cover, but it's such a long run that you're almost committing to a light fight at Kappa. And if you feel your lights are better than their lights, maybe it's the good choice. But I would say that this River City is kind of a Team 1 balanced map, but we've seen teams winning on both sides. It's definitely possible. It really comes down to scouting. Scouting is huge, getting the information as early as humanly possible, and I think the cap game can play a big part if one team does not opt for a hard rush. It's definitely going to be about the 3 cap.
I would not be surprised to see SJR starting in Team 1 try and play that cap game like they did last match. I think if you asked them, they would probably say the strategy was right, and they just maybe didn't play it quite as cleanly as they needed to play. I don't think SJR would look back at that last match and say, you know what, that was the wrong thing to do or the wrong strategy to do. So I wouldn't be surprised to see them play that cap game again. Like you said, that Gamma Spaceport area is a really strong Overwatch position, and you can easily get the 3 cap and control it. I think 228, I really have felt this whole time that SJR, for the most part, has controlled the pace, the feel of the matches. And even in that last game, 228 obviously won it, but it was very, very close, and I don't know if they would say that was a perfect game as played by them. I certainly wouldn't think that they would say that.
No.
So I almost would expect 228 starting on Team 2, which I think we both agree is maybe the weaker side, for a given value of weaker. I think they're going to be a little more aggressive, or I think they should be a little more aggressive than SJR does, and I think that could play well for them.
I mean, we might see faster assaults. MX-90s aren't the fastest mech, but it still has the range. It can reach out and touch somebody, but I don't think we're going to be seeing dire wolves out of them if they are going to go aggressive. We might see executioners, things like that, gargoyles maybe even, I don't know. But let's hop in and take a look. I'm really glad that 228 is getting in there, though, and they're doing some work. They're obviously coming from behind. It's really tough to keep people on point. Hopefully that victory there, however close, will get them fired up to take this last game and make it a 3-2 decision in favor of SJR still. But you got to fight for every kill. You got to fight for every win. You can't just give up, and they can definitely get some numbers here.
And the other part of that is a 4-1 or a 1-4 loss looks far worse than a 2-3. So they still have the opportunity to get that second win for this series, and I think that should be motivation enough. Just playing the game should be motivation enough, but certainly if they needed more motivation, that I think is certainly good enough to pursue it.
So it looks like on the SJR side we have dual Battlemasters, Mauler MX-90, and Direwolf for the assaults. On the 228 side, Mauler MX-90, Battlemaster 1G, Banshee 3M, Mauler MX-90. I don't think they brought a single duplicate. They opted to go with Jenner 2C, Jenner Oxide, Black Knight, Grasshopper. No, I don't see a single duplicate for 228. Nothing wrong with that if they are in the mechs that's going to get the job done. So they do opt for the immediate cap on Sigma, while SJR gets the immediate cap on Kappa. And the main Assault Lance has a long way to go to get up to the fight here. Let's see what SJR decides to do.
And SJR does have Uncle Russ in the Arctic Cheetah. It looked like he might have been going for Theta for a little bit there, but he is not. He's going, or maybe he's waiting to join up with his other light pilot here, and they are going to go for Theta.
This is a very, very red Battlemaster. Oh my god. So they are opting for Upper City. They do have scouting from One Last Bite, taking a look over there in relative safety. So we're going to have a little bit of a poke standoff. So no heavy aggression, but as predicted, 3 cap in favor of SJR. It's going to be on 228 to yet again make the move. How long are they going to wait to do it?
Full cap Theta. That's a good thing to do, is get that full cap on Theta. Take it a little bit longer for them to flip that cap now.
So we're getting an initial rush here. Looks like they're deciding to go straight across. This Mauler is taking a beating. Grim getting pounded, getting stuck on a teammate, not able to get down in time. They
a lot of
switched to
collisions
Defunct.
there.
Yeah, the collisions just kept them out there for a little bit longer. Grim opting to just start laying it into him as hard as he can to try and suppress them while they cross the water. He is getting punished for it, though. He's got to be really careful, but they are opting to come out, and they want to finish him. He's going to drop down. They might be able to squeeze in those last couple of hits. Well, they're messing with him.
By SJR to spread out in the water. They do get him down.
But they have allowed the other 3 assaults to cross, so now they've got a little bit of a pincer action going on here. One Last Bite putting some pressure on in the back. Doesn't know that Jaeger's actually walking up right next to him. Pops a PPC shot in there. One Last Bite is putting as much pressure as possible.
And SJR's lights need to get back. There's a light mech in the assaults for SJR that is, or 228 has a light mech in SJR's assaults that's forcing the Mauler Rouser to turn around and keep an eye on that light.
So they have
now it looks like
SJR a little bit surrounded. Even though they lost their MX-90, which is a huge loss, Defunct has to be careful on these rocks. It's very easy to get caught out. They have them kind of surrounded, but SJR is really not giving up ground. They're just trying to punish anything that sticks their head out. One Last Bite versus Uncle Russ down underneath. One Last Bite just barely making it away. Uncle Russ is able to pull back. And I don't think Defunct is able to get anything done in water right now. He is getting completely slammed. But the Direwolf down to 36%, barely hanging on in water. And it looks like SJR is going to come up here and flush out these assaults. Hopefully the 228 heavies are watching, because it's going to get really nasty up top here really quick. And these assaults are very hurt. There's a lot of hurt mechs for SJR too, so, I mean, well-placed shots could make a huge difference.
And Uncle Russ just got a free kill on one of the 228 assault mechs, just sitting in the corner getting free fire from up top at Gamma.
3 down now, and now Ed is surrounded. He's getting hit by Uncle Russ and Jaeger in a 2v1, and he goes down. And this is not looking good for 228. One Last Bite dies in the water. Defunct is the last one left up top, 41%.
And he has 1 touch.
And he is down. So then we have the Oxide and the Black Knight across water, getting run up on by Aerosai. Aerosai's going to be running a little hot, but he's had time to cool, and he does get
Dr.
Killer.
That Oxide is also 1 touched.
Last one's Black Knight. Let's see if he can at least take a kill with him. Gets shot in the back, well placed, and that's it for 228. Well played by SJR. Only 1 dead.
Yeah. And it felt there like 228 did the right thing pushing, got stuck on some of those rocks, which is kind of what we talked about, what we were a little afraid of, pushing that area where those rocks are. You can get stuck on those, and then they kind of stalled out. And it really felt like SJR, even though they were maybe giving up the better position for a not quite as good one, again, felt like SJR had control of that situation. 228 didn't press the advantage, didn't press and put pressure on SJR. They were able to sit in the water and, basically just trade from water, from a very open area.
So unfortunately, a little bit of an anticlimactic ending after the excitement that was Canyon Network. Definitely going strongly in favor of SJR. They had a lot of hurt mechs, but they were able to cycle them out and keep them alive. Even the Direwolf Quicksilver incredibly hurt, but was able to cycle out and keep himself up and running. So well played by SJR to finish it out strong. 4-1 in favor of SJR. Black Watch obviously taking a very exciting match, but it was certainly a close one.
Yeah, and you know what? We will always have that Canyon Network Drop 4 to treasure after watching that. That was one heck of a match.
And, you know...
And looking at chat here right now, the Magician was actually playing in and out of bounds, so I guess on Spectator I don't get to see whether they're out of bounds.
That's definitely a little
but
bit
that
of a
was,
risk
I think,
for him.
why he couldn't necessarily stay back under cover, because he must have been just on the out of bounds lines there.
Well, that's good to know. I mean, he has to do what he has to do, and you know, I'm sure his timer was ticking, and they were putting pressure on him for sure. There's not much else that he could do. So it was well played by him. Really, as far as that went, I can't say I would have done it any better for sure.
Yeah, I don't know if there was anything else I could have done in that situation, but like I said, just interesting little tidbit. We had commented maybe he shouldn't have been peeking out. Well, clearly he had to peek out. He was running on the time limit. So
yeah, and so he must have been running. And I don't know if that glitch still exists, where if you go in and out of it too rapidly, it doesn't even tell you how much time you have left. So I'm sure there's a risk there. That would have been a pretty anticlimactic ending too if he just suddenly suicided. Yeah. But you got to do what you got to do, man. So. Here's the general movement of the assaults, able to get up here. We had Defunct play in this location. And then SJR taking it out into water and curving around to get that firing line in there as they crossed. But like I said, 3-cap in favor of SJR. It forces movement. It forces them to have to make a decision. And they did get a little bit of a pincer, but it's hard to get the firing lines in there to make it count when SJR is staying together and playing whack-a-mole really well. They're getting hurt, but they're putting out damage. They're not just getting slaughtered out there by Theta, and they're able to do work.
Yeah, and that was kind of the key there. It really felt like at any one point SJR was taking fire from Rock Garden, where that Black Knight was, taking some fire from kind of Lower City Citadel side, where the Oxide was, or taking some fire from Spaceport. It never felt like they were taking fire from all three at the same time.
I'm just watching this hot mess up above bridge there, where Grim and Defunct and Pisces were just ramming into each other. That little bit of a hit just keeps them in the shit for that much longer. Grim trying his best to drop some shots downfield, but they're just slaughtering him. He's trying to waste their time. It does allow his team across water, and that probably was enough to at least give them a fighting chance, because those assaults that got across and the heavies that stayed back were able to continue doing work. It wasn't enough, and losing a Mauler MX-90 that quickly, and I don't think he was able to put out too good of numbers. That hurts. Now, one last bite, putting the shots in on Ruza's back and doing whatever he can, but Uncle Russ comes back, chases him out with the help of Jaeger in the Timberwolf. I don't think they ever had the opportunity to seal the deal on Jaeger, and he was able to do a lot of work just free roaming up by Spaceport. And every time Defunct peeked here, he just got completely decimated. It's such a hard corner to peek when they're all just standing there.
Yeah, and that's, like I said, it just, and maybe I'm wrong, but it just felt like for all the angles that 228 should have had on those teams in the water, just didn't feel like they were using them to the full effectiveness there, and they were allowing SJR to sort of get comfortable in what should have been not a very comfortable place to be.
Yeah, and SJR was doing a really good job at responding to the movement of 228, responding to the lights moving in on their backside. It was all about the response, and their response was right where it needed to be, and I think the scoreboard really reflected that.
Yeah, like I said, if you don't put pressure on them, you know, they'll do whatever they need to do to respond to what your strategy is, and I think throughout the entire series tonight, that was kind of the theme to me, was that most matches, most of the time, felt like SJR was in control and 228 was trying to respond to whatever SJR was doing. And I think the more often that you have to respond and be reactive instead of proactive in these sort of matches, the harder of a time you're going to have.
Now, I think SJR has to be feeling pretty good about this one. There's obviously room for improvement, as always, and I think they're going to be able to take that. At least you can come off a strong win and work on improving, as opposed to coming off a loss and working on improving. Whatever they did after that Lord's fight, they seemed to be moving more as a cohesive unit this time, as opposed to last week. But then, of course, 228, doing their best, but some questionable decisions, and could have even come down to just landing the shots. But they were doing quite a bit of damage to SJR. SJR, this wasn't a roll. SJR was hurt every single drop. 228 came to play. They were putting shots on target. It just wasn't always enough to seal the deal. So
yeah, and that's something that we certainly like to point out, because in these competitive matches, especially when you start getting up by 1 or 2 mechs, it doesn't matter how damaged they are, because you're just able to get two quick shots and undercover instead of 1 quick shot or something like that. So they can certainly feel like they've been this kind of runaway match sort of thing, but it's hardly ever the case that they actually are.
Absolutely. So let's go ahead and do our drawing for the end of the stream here. Let's see who's going to win the Mech Bay. Like I said, decent crowd. Thank you to everybody who came out. It's been fantastic. And thank you, as always, for supporting us. We do this for you guys. We're not getting paid for this, obviously, so your continued enthusiasm definitely means a lot. Dr. Killer 1207, you are the winner of the Mech Bay. And we'll be sending that along.
Congratulations.
Congratulations. So, IQ Fish, hopefully you got some really exciting shots there, man.
Yeah, that last match was great.
Awesome. And, with some of those longer fights, especially on Canyon and stuff, you just get that many more opportunities to get some amazing angles. So I'm super excited to see what you come out with. We're getting close to the end of the season here. I would say probably only about 2 more shoutcasts for us before the season's over. I know that I have pegged EMP versus SJR on the 5th of May, and we're patiently waiting to see when the Lord's EMP matches. Both of those are going to be exciting matches. Can't wait to see.
Definitely looking forward to both of those.
What comes out. That may be Sunday, but we're waiting to see whether or not they agree on a date. So definitely stay tuned to Reddit. Stay tuned to my Twitter account. That's where I post up all of my stuff. If you are here if you've never been to any of these casts before, hopefully you've enjoyed the show. And if anybody has any feedback at all, toss it our way. Don't talk to me about the red text. There's nothing I can do.
Yeah,
but
no red text, please.
We're still looking for feedback on the PIP. We're trying to please as many people as possible, because 80% of the people want third person only, and then 20% of the people want first person only. So we're trying to blend them as much as possible to make people as happy using the tools we have. And PGI, please, in May, you said you're going to be doing spectator tool improvements. I'm praying that they're good. Can't wait to see what the patch notes say for those. And so we'll be watching that. As obviously the season's going to be drawing to a close by the time that patch comes out, but we'll be looking forward to it and watching these teams go into the big tournament. Sign-ups are ending on May 1st, so make sure you get your rosters locked and ready to go. The prize pool's growing. The tournament booster pack, definitely a good value. I bought mine $10 for 10% C-bills, 10% experience, and a really cool Warhorn. I think that's a pretty good value. So if you guys haven't spent money on the game in the past, or even if you have and you're just looking for something that can give you a little bit of an edge in the grind, it's like a mini premium time. It's good stuff. So, and it just that pool just ends up growing, and it makes things that much more exciting. So
even MD bought the tournament pack. So if I can do it, you can do it. Go do
and
it.
you never spend money on this game. He's a dick.
Yeah, I am a dick.
But that's it for me. Thank you all for coming out. Thank you, IQ Fish, for, of course, being here and recording. And thank you, MD, of course, for being my co-caster.
Well, you're welcome.
I will see you guys later.
See you guys.
Pay attention to the paper doll. Make sure you guys are shooting the correct legs. Be careful of the collisions. I don't want to hear complaints about it. Work around it. Let's play this game.
I need another heavy. I've got TB and a quick draw.
I want to get fairly tight to it. Now, anybody who's going to be working range, I'm going to need you to fade right on this. If anybody's running short, we're just going to stay towards the top of the caldera if we're going to come at them.
I have you in the Griffin.
Sounds good. Well, that's the thing. We got to get to brawling range, so I may be moving us right up to the hoop if we have to.
Wolverine nach Charlie 4.
It's fine, chill the out, man, it's fine, it's just a 5-star.
Kommt Leute, redet miteinander.
15 seconds.
Yeah, exactly,
Don't die. 15 seconds, don't die.
Guys. 3, 2, 1.
Charlie Dar, CT, yellow. Okay, go for Charlie, see if we can get it.
There, to your left, there's there. Acceleration. So, jetzt guys, hinter die Indie-Pocken.
Mediums be prepared to pull back E40 towards the E5 border. On my mark. Left side, come on! Like now, I need strikes on OP barrel. Wire are strikes up.
Die Hauptgruppe rechts, Uferlinie.
They have three mechs sitting on the left side when you pass over.
Overheating is bad.
Both legs on the Griffin. Hit the Griffin.
Sorry about that. That was such a
That's right. I'm gonna spawn Lance, you guys in Charlie, Lance, you guys in Bravo. That's B2C1.
This third drop is 2 lights, 2 mediums, 2 heavies, 2 assaults.
What's in die Breite? Zieht euch in die Breite.
Lights, watch our backs. We're gonna about base and take up position in Bravo 6.
Kurz Aufschaltung, Delta 4, 3 Stück, 2 Mediums, ein Light, wie ich es richtig gesehen habe.
Make a firing line.
C4 Tactical Hill, boys.
Fox.
Laufen unter ECM, hab 2 durchlaufen, 10, Bravo 4.
And get ready to hit people coming from our right.
Charlie on the left, Charlie, Hellbringer on the left.
Okay, let's group up towards the left. We're gonna press through Bravo 3 to Bravo 4. I think they're kind of spread out.
Check yourselves. Make sure you've got, UAV cool shot.
Here they come. They're pushing hard, guys.
Decro. Tez on.
Go.
Oh, got a contact here, Bravo 3.
Nice, Marshall. I'm on Delta Griffin.
Well, you cross it then. Get in their face. They got a highlighter. They just push up on Theta. We need help on Theta. Up on Theta.
Yep, that's the noise. Go. Let's finish this.
Full pressure, guys. Full pressure. They're down low. They're down low in Charlie 3. Get the f***ing arm, Jackson.
Jackson, cool shot.
Golf. I got him.
Go, P3, go.
Echo. Get over on your medium, guys. Get Echo Stormcrow. God, I suck as a pilot, but thank I packed my skill.
I'm sorry that you died, sweet girls, but we will send a